Since I started public school this year, I haven't got to see Monica and Katrina, you guys, my two best friends in ages, and I hardly ever get to see them. So I thought an easy way to catch up on our lives would be to make podcasts and stuff. So I thought I could give it a try and try it out, and knowing how random our lives are, it would probably work, and we could tell some hysterical stories and, just like friends do in the bonding crowd. So, here's podcast number 1. Okay, so today is April 13th, 2009. It's the last day of spring break. And so this year, the spring break, I went with Andrew and Veronica, they're basically my family, but they're not related, like really good family friends that are basically family, if that makes sense. So I went with them to Lansdale, which is near Philly, for a family reunion of Andrew's, and you have to understand Andrew's family is from Taiwan, meaning they are Chinese. So I went knowing that I was going to have to eat a lot of Chinese food, but little did I know was every single day, for almost every meal, was going to be Chinese food. So the first night we went to a Japanese restaurant, and I tried sushi for the first time. Not a big fan. I think I should have started with the American sushi first, but oh well. But the worst was on Saturday night. We went to a authentic Chinese-Japanese restaurant where we had like 7 courses. But okay, so the first course was this big platter of stuff, and there was, like, for everybody, we all shared and took stuff off the dishes, but it was huge, and there was these mini octopus. They were red, and they still had eyes. There was a little bunch of them right here on this plate. And then they had shrimp that were filleted and, cooked and stuff. Shrimp's okay. I'm not a big seafood person. And then beside that, they had beef strips. Still didn't want to eat it. It was on the same plate as the octopus. And then there was this stuff. It was round, and it was like these real thin slivers of stuff, and it looked like octopus to me. And I mean, not octopus, jellyfish. Because there were octopus, so I wouldn't be astounded if they were eating jellyfish. So somebody put one on my plate, and I did not eat it. But it smelled kind of like bacon. So I just kind of pushed it away. But I still didn't eat it because it was jellyfish in my mind. Well, and then there were these noodle things. And they were kind of transparent, kind of looked like rice noodles. So I'm like, okay, maybe they're edible, but I didn't eat them anyhow because I was kind of freaked out. And, well, here, Veronica ate some of them. And Veronica had no idea what they were. She thought they were just noodles. Here we find out that the little sliver things that I thought was jellyfish wasn't jellyfish. It was something like bacon. I think it was pork. And, but it was like packed like sausage, and then they slice it. And, here, the noodles was jellyfish. Yeah, like, I guess it was like the legs and the brain crap, and it was all noodles, and Veronica's like, ooh, this tastes real vinegary, I like this. Little did she know it was jellyfish. And then the second course, they brought out this soup that was like, I think it was rice, Chinese food, rice and fish, and there was peas and stuff in it. Still didn't eat it. The broth was like gray. There was no way I was touching it. And they're like, oh, Sarah, eat it, it's good. I'm like, I don't do seafood. They're like, well, why are you at a Chinese-Japanese restaurant? And I'm like, I was dragged along. Anyhow. And then the third course, they brought out this big platter of meat. It looked kind of like a mix between beef. It was like the colored beef, but it was, it looked more like turkey. Well, here was duck. And it had these, like, shell things that was made out of rice flour, and then green stuff, and then it had a sauce that was kind of like barbecue sauce, but it was more like soy sauce too. And here the dish was duck. It was Peking duck. So they're like, so you should try it. And I'm like, you know what? I have to eat something. And I was starting to lose hope that there wasn't going to be anything that I thought was edible. Like, if I can't identify the food, I'm not going to eat it. So, I got one of the rolls, and I put some of the sauce on it, and I put some of the duck on it, and I took a bite. And here was actually really good. I never thought I would eat duck, never thought I'd like it, but I did. So not only did I have try sushi and duck, or not just sushi, but I tried duck too. Anyhow, well here, I didn't know this, but while I was getting my duck off with like the 2 spoons that they had, they don't have like a big spatula thing to get your food off. You have 2 little spoons, and I'm getting it off and like poking stuff, and your fingers would hit some of the stuff, and it just wasn't a big thing because, I don't know, manners aren't a big thing in the culture. But so I was getting it, and there was this thing that looked like a thigh. Here was the head of the duck. I didn't know till later, and it was really, really, really gross. And so it kind of freaked me out, and I'm glad I didn't touch it or try to eat it or anything. And then the next thing came out was, it was these jumbo shrimp that was breaded, and then it was in a honey mustard sauce with walnut over it. It was actually really good, and I don't like seafood, but it was really, really good. And then they brought out beef and mushrooms and asparagus, and that's all stuff I like, so I ate that. And then they brought out this fish, okay? This fish. Not only did it still have the gills and the fins and the tail and then the scales and the eyes, it had the teeth. This thing was looking at you with these cold, dead blue eyes that just like going to pop out and eat you any second. And I'm like, oh my god, get that thing away from me. Well, it would turn because all the food was on that big turning thing in the middle of the table. And so they'd turn it and they'd get off their food and it would come around, and every time the fish would pass, another set of ribs would be out, and then the tail would be cut off. And then by the third time it came around, it stopped right here in front of me. And I am trying to eat my shrimp from the last course, and this thing is staring at me. This fish. It was so disgusting. And so I'm like, I don't think I'm going to eat anything else. I'm kind of losing my appetite. Well, then they brought out fried rice. And you're at a Chinese restaurant, you have to eat rice. So I ate some fried rice. And then they brought out barbecued pork, like breaded pork. It kind of looked like General Tso's, but it was more red, and it was pork. So I ate that, and that was really good. And then I looked behind me, and I saw this another platter they were bringing out to the table beside me. Well, here, I saw eyes looking at me again. Like, what is it with Chinese people and eyes in their food still? Well, here, they brought it out. They brought out one to my table, and here it was lobsters. 2 heads cut off and put on the plate for decoration. Who wants to look at heads? Why? And they were like pulling stuff off, and they were like these big chunks of brown crab. Like, seriously, it looked like crab. It looked disgusting. And they're just popping it in their mouth. I'm like, what is that? I mean, apparently it was lobster, but it was cooked in some weird sauce, maybe? I don't know. It was scary. And so I think that was the last course. Oh, and then they brought out some fruit or something, and it was all like canned fruit and disgusting stuff, so I didn't eat that. And then, it was one of the aunt's birthdays, so we had birthday cake that was really good. So we had American food to finish it all off. And not to mention, I had already had 3 cups of coffee that day, like grande Starbucks cups. Then I had 4 cups of that tea. You get in Chinese restaurants. I had like 4 or 5 cups of that. Yeah, and I was kind of hyper. Not that I'm not right now, but you know how it is. So yes. And that's my podcast.